Hey guys, what is up? It's Cypherak, and I just want to say, hopefully you guys had a great Thanksgiving. You got to spend time with your family and eat some amazing food. If you had to work, then hopefully the day was able to go by pretty quickly for you. That way it wasn't bad, it didn't feel like it dragged on. So, we're back on PC Part Picker. I enjoyed making the first video even though it was kind of lengthy. This will probably be the same way, but I went through the price drops again and looked at some deals that I thought were pretty good. So we're gonna go through them, and once again we're gonna close the link, or we're gonna close the tab in Chrome. That way, uh, it'll help speed up Chrome. So first off, we got the Intel Core i5 6402P. It's a quad core that's, I want to say, clocked a little bit higher than the 6400. And the reason why this is a really good deal is because the original price for this was $202.70 on B&H, and they have lowered the price to $189.99, as you can see on the screen. And it's a quad core, it's a true quad core processor. You know, you see it has a 2.8 gigahertz operating frequency, but it turbos up to 3.4 gigahertz. It comes with its own cooler, but it has no hyper-threading. It has built in graphics, and it can support up to 64 gigs of RAM. And this is where it is on sale at. It's on B&H. And what's cool is they collect no tax outside of New York, so you will be paying just $189.99, so basically $190 to get an i5. It's great for gaming, very light video editing. Can't really complain. So next we got the Cooler Master T4. It's a CPU cooler, and it has a 120mm fan on it. Now, I had to include this because of the fact that the Cooler Master Hyper CPU coolers are some of the best, and they are some of the lowest priced ones, so you can't really beat it. So the original price is $24.99, but on Newegg it has a $15 mail-in rebate, so that takes it down to $9.99. I would take advantage of it because it also has free shipping. With that, you would save 23% on off the original price, and this can mount to a bunch of different supported sockets. I'm gonna say it looks like just about all the sockets, or all the current or relevant sockets that you would try to hook this up to. And something else I want to say about this is, with this heatsink and the mounting mechanism for it, you can always go back and get you an aftermarket fan that's 120mm and apply it to this, so you don't have to use the fan that they supply. You could get a Noctua fan for airflow. You could get a Be Quiet fan to have silent operation. So it is just whatever you wish to make of it. And so this is just a quick look at it. And the cooler itself natively supports AMD, their AM3 socket, which is what the little thing is for there. And all you would need is the little bracket here that I am pointing at with my mouse for AMD. If you're going to use for Intel, you would have to use the mounting piece here and these here. So I would say that's not too bad for the cooler, for something like this that could keep your CPU cool and allow you to do a little bit of overclocking. So we're going to move on. I don't remember if I actually did this one. I don't think I did, but for the motherboard, I would say here's an MSI Z170A SLI Plus. The reason why I threw this on is because the original price was $132.88 on NCIX, and it went down to $98.99, as you can see. So you're saving 26%. It's a Z170 board, which means that you can overclock on it, so you can get performance, a little more performance from it. But we're just going to click on the Newegg website because I like how they lay out everything. But as you can see, you have an M.2 slot. That's right. It's right there above the PCI Express slot. Your two main PCI Express slots that you would run SLI in have the metal retainer around it to strengthen it, so that means that any kind of video card sag will be braced by it. What's also cool is you have two different USB 3.0 ports, which you have one here, like normally, and you have one that's like right angle, so you don't have to worry about trying to bend it over and fold the wires over to reach it. And for the I/O, I wouldn't say it's the greatest, but you got your PS2 ports, you got a VGA, a DVI, a USB Type-C with an HDMI, USB 3.0 and USB 2.0, their internet, their Intel LAN, and I would say that's like a 5.1 surround sound. But actually that's a USB 3.1, not Type-C. Sorry, so that's a 3.1. But anyways, for $98, I would say for a Z170 board, that if you went to Brent SLI, this isn't bad at all. I would totally go for this if I was going to go for this. So for memory, we have, I want to say, just this one. It's going to be the G.Skill Trident Z series. It's a 16 gig kit with two 8 gig DIMMs, and I chose this one out of the other ones because of the fact that it's DDR4 3200 megahertz. But the original price was $128.88, and now it is $99.99. So basically $100. You save around the ballpark of $25, which is be 20% off the original price. And they had another kit that was $26.66, and it was Kingston Savage, and the current selling price is $112. With this, you're going to be getting, you know, the same capacity but higher frequency. So I feel like this is a lot better deal. The color scheme on the heat spreaders, I actually like it. I like, you know, the color red, and it has black PCB, which really looks nice with the gray and the white. So I feel like this is just, it's really nice aesthetically. You're going to get your speed and your capacity, so I would say for that, you can't really beat it. Alright, so now we're going to go into some storage. For storage, I have a couple different, and they're all going to be pretty relevant with each other. So we have the Samsung Evo. It's a 1 terabyte, and it's a solid state drive. You know, there isn't too much to say about this except for the fact that solid state drives are faster because they have no moving parts. It's like a flash NAND with it's a flash 3D NAND or something like that. And what that means is just they stack the chips on top of each other to get more storage and speed and reliability. So you have a 1 terabyte here for $249.99, as you can see on B&H, and the original price was $314.90. So you're saving $64.91, which is 21%, and it's going to be the same for the M.2. So solid state drives are great because of the fact that they're quick, you know, they're reliable, and with this you have enough to store a good amount of games on it, as well as, you know, maybe some movies, some music, and there's not much to be said about that other than that. But you get into the solid state drive that's in the M.2 form factor, and it's basically the same thing, except the SSD and the 2.5 form factor requires two cables, one to transfer the data and one to power it. This does not. This plugs right into your motherboard, and it does not require any kind of cables. It makes everything look neater because you have two less cables you have to worry about. And it was the same for this. This originally was priced $314.02, and it went down to $249.99. So you're saving $64.03. And once again, it's a 21% drop on the overall price. If I had a motherboard that had M.2 on it, I would go for the M.2 drive. It's not NVMe, which is faster than this, but this here, you can't really go wrong because it's a terabyte, no cables, clean look. So many pros about this that it's not even funny. Alright, so we're going to get into the Samsung 850 EVO, but it's in a 500 gig model, and it's M.2. And I put this up here because in case you couldn't afford the $250 price tag, for $130 you can get this one. The original price was $158.66 on B&H, and they dropped it down to $129.99, so $130. And you got free shipping. Like, a lot of these you're going to get free shipping because of probably the Black Friday and Cyber Monday sales. But if you couldn't afford the 1 terabyte version, but you could afford the 500 gig, I would go with the 500 gig and then later down the line just get a mechanical hard drive. Store your essential stuff on this, so like your operating system, your drivers for everything, maybe some games that you're going to be playing a lot of, and then use a external, or not external, but a mechanical hard drive for higher capacity games that you couldn't quite use the other with. So that being said, I'm not even going to click on this one. We're just going to move on. This one was a misclick. I didn't mean to show that because I'm too logo store. Okay, so here we got a Munchkin ECO2 512 gig SSD. Okay, I put this one up here because for 512 gigs, you're going to be paying around the ballpark of, starting at 120 or more for just 500 gigs. Normally, you're going to be paying like 125 to 150, maybe sometimes even up to 180. So this one here, the original price of it was $139.89, and it's down to $119.99, which means you're going to be saving about $20, which is 15% of the overall price. And for SSDs, unless you go literally top of the line NVMe and then test against just a standard SSD, that's when you'll really tell a difference. But between like SSDs like this, you're not going to notice too much of a performance difference. If you're going to be gaming, do web browsing, maybe a little bit of video editing, live streaming, you really won't notice too much of a difference. It all kind of just works the same. So if you wanted a 512 gig and you didn't have an M.2 slot, I would say this would be a really great choice here. Munchkin, they're really reliable. I have not tried their SSDs, but I've tried their other products like their RAM. Have no problems with them. And yeah, so let's just move on. Now we're going to be going to video cards. So let me get to my list. Okay, so we have EVGA GeForce GTX 1060 3GB version. It's their For the Win edition. There was some speculation about it overheating, but that's if you pushed it to kind of extreme. The original price of this was $214.98, and it's at $204.99. It's not much of a difference. You're saving about $10, which is 5% of the original price, or 5% less than the original price. The reason I put this on is because it's getting more to the MSRP for it, because the 6 gig version was supposed to be like $250. I already talked about this in the last video, and this is starting to get to the MSRP, like what the recommended price was, and that's actually something nice to see because of the fact that they're not trying to squeeze people for money. If you're on a budget and you want to try to get the best deal, they're having it at the suggested MSRP or close to it, which is always nice. And this is the ACX 3.0 cooler. It's VR ready, it says, and it requires, I believe, an 8-pin. Yes. So it requires an 8-pin for the power. You can do some pretty good overclocking with their new and improved cooler. And this is just the 3 gig version. So we're going to go and check out the 1070, the EVGA GeForce GTX 1070 8 gig version. It's their Super Clock Edition. And the original price for it was $389.99, but it went down to $384.99. So you're saving $5, which is about 2%. Like I said, I'm putting these on here because of the fact that they're getting closer to the MSRP, and right now might be the time to take advantage of that because of the fact that after the holidays they could bump back up. So the 1070s could go back up to $450, $460. The 1080s could go back up to $650 to $700 for aftermarket, and the Founders Edition could go $750 to $800. So I would say now, if you have the money, you're not going to put yourself in any kind of pinch with cash, then now would be the time to jump on this. So this is the 1070. It's an 8 gig version. It's their Super Clock Edition with the ACX 3.0 cooler. Once again, this is going to require an 8-pin power connector, and there really isn't too much to say. It's an upgraded version of the 1060. You have more power to the video card. You have 2 more gigs of video memory, and you have a 256 gig or a 256-bit bus instead of a 192-bit. So you're going to be getting just overall better performance. With this, you could get great gaming in 1440p and even light 4K, depending on which game you're playing. So other than that, I mean, it's VR ready. The one thing I would like to see is if they're going to charge a lot of money for it, like this is getting closer to the MSRP. If they're going to charge more though, I would like to see them include a backplate. That way it makes sense, because a backplate, you know, wouldn't really add too much. It shouldn't add too much to the cost, but it would be nice to see, because you have like this extravagant front here, but then you just have the back where you just see the black PCB, which is not a bad thing, but it would more or less justify the price increase. So we got now the Zotac GeForce GTX 1080. It's the 8 gig Founders Edition by Zotac. I had to throw this on here because of the fact that this here, the MSRP is supposed to be $699, so basically $700, but its original price was $659, and now it's down to $654.99. So you're saving $4. It's only a 1% decrease in the original price, but still, it is under the MSRP. I would jump on the deal, because for this, let's see if Amazon has some better pictures, but for this, it has the back plate, it has their Founders Edition cooler, which is improved since the last generation, since the 900 series, and you get your DVI port, you get an HDMI 2.0, a display port 1.4, and that's basically it. This is kind of the top of the top for gaming. Unless you're going to go for extreme 3D modeling and all that, then I would recommend the Titan XP. But I mean, this could suit your needs, no problem. And I believe it only requires one 8-pin connector. This does support SLI, so if you wanted to run 2 of them, I would say that'd be the max I would run, because there isn't too much support for more than 2 cards. But this is a great deal. I would jump on the deal if I had the money to do so. Alright, so then next we're going to move on to cases that I believe are some of the better deals. So let me just go to my list. So the first one we have here is a Bit Phoenix Nova. It's an ATX mid-tower case with a lovely side panel that you can show off your hardware. The original price was $36.99. The current price now is $21.99, as you can see on NCIX. So you're saving 15%, you're saving $15, which is 41% cheaper than the original price. And for it, I feel like it has a lot of bang for the buck, because of the fact that with the side window, the sleek aesthetic of the case, I feel like you couldn't beat it. And unfortunately, this picture does not show too much, because that's just a little crappy. But let's see. I had a case very similar to this. It was by Bit Phoenix. Had great cable management. As you can see, it kind of bumped, or it kind of has like where it comes out a little bit, where you can push your cables so you don't see too much of the cable exposure. Has filters on the bottom for your power supply to intake its own air. And you have 2, actually is that 1 slot cover? That's only one 5 1/4 inch bay on the front, so you could put in a CD drive. But for the case, as you can see, like the other prices on the other sellers that they have listed, paying about $55, $56, but NCIX has it for $21.99. So if you need a case that's a very nice case, it's gonna offer you room if you run ATX or micro ATX or even MITX. I don't know why you would do that, but you know, it offers that with no problem. So next we have the Corsair Spec 01. It's an ATX mid-tower case. It's by Corsair, who makes a lot of great products. Now, the original price for this was $39.98. It dropped down to $25.98 on Newegg. So that's saving 14%. So it dropped 36% of the original price. As you can see, it has a $4 off with a promo code, and it ends the 24th, so it ends tonight. But it has a $15 mail-in rebate, which is not a bad deal. I probably should have made this video earlier, but I digress. So it has red LED fans in the front, has a side panel, which is always nice. And then let's take a look at the front of the case. So you have drive trays where you can slide them out, and they have the holes for an SSD if you wanted to mount SSDs into them. Then it has your standard 3.5-inch mechanical drive slots. Up at the top, you have quick release for any kind of 5 1/4-inch bay drives that you want to put in, so you don't have to use screws to mount it, even though I recommend you use it because they give it to you for a reason. It doesn't hurt to put anything in. And as you can see, the back cover, or the back panel, has it where it's pushed out so you can hide your cables in the back when you go to cable manage. It has plenty of holes for cable management. And yeah, there really isn't too much more to say about this. It's a really nice computer. I would love to try to build on this one day. Something that kind of irks a lot of people is the fact that the front of it only has a USB 2.0 and one USB 3.0, which means you have to run 2 different cables for it, which could be a pain because of the fact that you might want to run USB 3.0, but that's where you want to do a little bit of research before you actually purchase something. Okay, so now we're going to be going on to power supplies. This is going to be the last bit for the video. I feel like it's dragging on a little too much. I'm trying to get through it as fast as I can. But we got the Raid Max Vampire 700 watt. It's an 80 plus gold certified semi-modular power supply. I put this on the list because this originally was $75.98 on Newegg, but they have the current price $49.99 if you use the $15 mail-in rebate. So you're saving $25.99, which is 35% drop from the original price. And I would say it's a great deal for a 700 watt power supply. It's 80 plus gold, which means it's efficient. The only ones you have above it would be titanium and platinum, with titanium being at the very top and then platinum right below it. The black and white aesthetic of it looks really nice. And with this, because it's a semi-modular, it has the cables that are required for every computer. So your 20+4 pin for your motherboard and your 4+4 pin for your CPU. And then you can just plug in whatever extra cables you need. You don't have to have all that tangle. You know, you don't have to have like an octopus of cables in your case. You can choose what you want and leave out what you don't need. It's very nice. So let's move on. So we have here the Corsair CSM 650 watt. It's an 80 plus gold certified semi-modular power supply. I put this one in here because, once again, it's an 80 plus gold certified power supply. The original price was $69.99, but on Newegg it is $49.99 with a $10 mail-in rebate, and you save $20, which is a 29% drop from the original price. Corsair makes some pretty good power supplies. I've only had one fail, but I think it might be because the user wasn't really taking too care of their computer, which I told them about, and hopefully they don't, do the same mistake. But it, just like the previous power supply, it's 80 plus gold. It's a semi-modular, which means that you only plug in the cables that you need. It has the cables necessary, like the 20+4 and the 8+8 for your motherboard and your CPU. But then you can just plug in whatever you need. So if you need SATA ports for your hard drives, SSDs, or CD/DVD drives, you have the option to plug in cables in. And then you have a cable that you can plug in for your video cards. So it's nice. It's a 650 watt power supply. It's a great deal. And then for the last power supply, we have the Corsair RMX 1000 watt 80 plus gold certified fully modular power supply. Now I threw this on because of the fact that for 1000 watts, it's not bad. It's 80 plus gold certified. The original price of it was $149.99, and it dropped down to $109.99 on Newegg. So that's a $40 savings, which is 27% of the, or 27% drop from the original price. Now, I feel like this is going to be a little bit beefier power supply in length, so it's going to be a little bit longer, but it's fully modular. So fully modular, it's where none of the cables are plugged in. You have to plug in your motherboard cables, your CPU cables, and every other cable you need. Now the good thing about this is if you run a computer that has dual CPUs, kind of like what I have in this computer now, you can add a second CPU cable to this and it'll actually work in it. You can add multiple video card cables if you need them, if you're going to run SLI, or if you're going to run like SATA cards that need external power, or USB cards. You have the option, you have plenty of options to add them, and it's an 80 plus gold certified power supply. You can't beat it. It's a great deal. So that's going to be it for the video, guys. I just want to thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the video and you can find some good deals if you're going to build a computer for yourself. I just want to say thank you for watching, and I hopefully will see you guys later. Take care.